You'll have to try. Now quickly, what did you want to know? When the door to the stable closed, I found myself in utter darkness. I expected to walk out into the light of day, like I've read in books, or at least something like that. Did the war destroy the sun? Or were the goddesses dead, did the sun really just not rise anymore? I remember Auntie telling me about the goddesses and how the two sisters would raise the sun and the moon every day and night. I started to shake at the thought of a world in utter darkness. After a minute went by, I got my head on a little tighter and started thinking a little clearer. It couldn't be. The world had to have something more than darkness. I'm more likely in a cave or something. I also knew that I had to start moving. I couldn't stand next to a stable door forever. I broke the switch to get out, but I had no idea how long it would take to fix it. It could take days or months, but it could also only take minutes. Ding! I looked down at my pip-buck. I just got notification. More than one I could see. It seems that I've just discovered Stable 28. Well, good for me. If there was also something about not activating something. So I clicked on it. Eyes forward sparkle and stable tech. Arcane targeting spell have not been activated. Would you like to? Yes? No. Now this was something I did know about a pip-buck. Auntie and Balefire both told me about it a while ago. EFS and SATs. I clicked on yes and watched it do the setup. Knowing what something is, I came to find out, is different than experiencing it. Once the pip-buck finished the setup, my vision went blurry for a moment, and later came into focus. Only now I could see a small compass in the bottom of my vision. Whoa, now that's trippy. I looked back at my pip-buck and pressed a small switch with a flashlight on it. I had to look away as the screen grew brighter. I pointed it forward, and I saw that my prediction about being in a cave was correct. I looked around, seeing that I was in a long cave that slowly made its way upward, slightly turning. I can hear soft whistling sound coming from that direction, a small breeze blowing past my face. I can feel the fear of the unknown slowly growing in my gut, but I took a deep breath and started to walk forward. My pip light helped me on the right path and washed my fear away as I moved. If I didn't have this, I don't think I could have kept going. I walked for only a few minutes, then came to a large wooden wall and a crappy door. I could see light coming through the spaces in the boards. I moved towards the door, then screamed when something crunched under my hooves. I jumped back, flashing the light forward where I'd just stepped. 3 pony skeletons looked back at me from the ground. I gasped, shrank back. It looked like a family died sitting by this old door. 2 adults and a foal. It was the foal's skull that I'd stepped on, crunching it into tiny pieces. "This is horrible," I said, moving closer. "I'm sorry, little one." I felt tears starting to well in my eyes as everything that had just happened hit me at once. I sniffed and did my best not to cry. I wouldn't cry. Not right now. I was still too close to the stable. Even with this horrible sight, I knew I had to push on. Crying wouldn't help me. I'd only get caught. Carefully, I stepped around the bones of the family and pushed on the door. It rattled, but didn't open. I wondered why they would lock a crappy door like this. I looked down and saw the rusty chain wrapped around the handle and one of the boards. They locked themselves in here? I looked back at them and saw a couple duffel bags next to them. One was open. Inside I could see a few things, so I decided to take a look to see if there was anything useful. It was mostly clothes and old food that spoiled long ago, but on the bottom of the bag I found a hoof-written note. I opened it up and read, "The stable is closed. The alarm went off earlier today, right after we heard the bomb starting to fall. This far west we figured we'd have time. Sugar just had a few more things. Figured we'd need them for life in the stable. We got here and found the door was sealed. We pounded on the door and begged them to let us in, but no pony responded. So we tried to go back home, but couldn't. The bombs fell, and the magical radiation is making other ponies crazy. We chained the door, trying to stay safe. The noises of other ponies kept our daughter from sleeping at all. She was so scared." We aren't going to make it. My little filly is only 5 years old. I wrote this note in case any pony ever finds us. We tried. We really tried. But we didn't make it. Here, we will lie forever. This is Mega Base, Sugar Cookie, and Dewdrop. I couldn't help crying now, when I looked down at those old bones. They'd tried to get into Stable 29 when this mega spell went off, but they didn't make it in time. They knew that they were going to die, and the last thing they did was leave a note, so some pony would know who they were. I couldn't imagine having to face something like that. I took the note, folding it in half and slipping it in my saddlebags. My Pip-Buck dinged, and I looked down and saw that my inventory now had Megabase's last words under notes. I wondered how it knew what I had just put in my saddlebags. Putting it aside for now, I turned towards the door and started to work on the old lock. A few seconds later, I had it, and I pulled the chain off and opened the door. I walked out into a large open space. I read about the upper world before, and I'd even seen some pictures, but I never expected this. What I saw was nothing like I read in my books. It showed the worlds, so full of colors. The sun high in the sky. This world was gray, brown, and dead. Clouds filled the sky, only letting a small amount of light trickle down onto the dead land below. The landscape was worse. Dead trees were out in the distance, with only knotted branches poking out of their trunks. I was on a small hill looking down at a valley. Green mist floating close to the ground. Under the mist were more bones. Lots of bones. Coming up the hill were a few more dozen skeletons, looking as if they had all tried to get to the door to the tunnel that led to the stable. The door was chained and must have been stronger and in better shape back then, keeping them from getting through. My Pip-Buck dinged again, telling me I'd just found Green Mist Valley. Well, that made sense, I guessed. I wonder how many times I was going to do that. I kept moving, heading northeast like Auntie told me. As I walked through the quiet Green Mist Valley, I wondered how any pony could live in a world like this. So many bodies, so much destruction, and not to mention the smell. It smelled like decaying bodies in poorly maintained bathrooms. Then I hit the mist and my Pip-Buck started to click. Slowly at first, but that grew faster as I went further into the thick mist. I looked down and saw the RADS meter moving up and down away from 0. Right now it was still in the green, so I ignored it. There wasn't any way I could get out of this area without going through here. I had no choice. I kept walking in the eerie green mist that seemed to cover the small valley. So, I go northeast, she said. About a day or so travel. I wondered who I'll end up finding there, and if they'll even help me. I said to myself as I walked. When I reached the bottom of the hill, I found a slightly intact road. It went east to west. Figuring it may hook back and go to the town I was looking for, I started to follow it. I still found it a little odd that I hadn't run into any pony yet. From what I was told in the stable, the upper world still had ponies living in it. I mean, my mother and I came from up here. Now that I think about it, if we had come to Stable 28, how did we get into the tunnel with the door chained like it was? I guess for now I'll just have to not think about it. For all I knew, there was another way into the cave that Mother had either found or knew about. Maybe that was because the area I was in was too irradiated to live in. Realizing the reality of my own thoughts, I started to walk faster to get out of the radiation. I'd been walking for a couple hours, leaving the mist far behind. Hunger and thirst started to linger in my mouth and stomach. I hadn't seen any roadside restaurants or small settlements at all. I saw an overpass bridge in the distance and decided to rest there. The bridge was barely holding together. It looked like pieces would fall off when the wind blew. It being the only place I could use for shelter, I went and sat down under it. Suddenly, from behind the bridge, a pony jumped out, screaming, "Help!" I yelled myself, flipping out the baton I'd stolen, and hit the mare over the head, knocking her out. The first sign of civilization in hours, and I knock her out with a hard stick. Holstering the weapon on her hip was a pistol. If she woke up, she'd probably think I was trying to kill her or something. So I took it. I started shaking her, saying, "Hey, wake up. I didn't mean to hit ya. What? Oh, goddesses, help me! Those raiders are gonna kill me! The mare said, sounding terrified. She looked like she was half dead already. Her whole body was covered in dirt and grime, not to mention she smelled like ass. There you are, you little bitch. Come here. Let me show you what it's like to see your own spine, another pony said from behind me. He was a stallion, and it wasn't just him. He also had a friend with him. They were both wearing some kind of spiked armored barding, and looked a little worse for wear than the mare behind me. I pulled out the mare's pistol I'd taken when she was knocked out, and pointed it at the stallions. Back off! Just walk away. I don't want to have to shoot you, I shouted at the stallions. Suddenly, I was grabbed from behind. You're a really stupid bitch, aren't you? Shrapnel, help me hold her down. Splatter, cut off her horn so she can't use her magic, said the mare that was holding on to me. She didn't sound so helpless now. Sure thing, Ragebone, said the stallion she referred to as Splatter. The stallion started walking towards me with what looked like a machete in his mouth. I started to squirm and tried to escape the grasp of the mare. He was getting closer. I couldn't imagine what they'd do to me after my horn was severed. He was right in front of me. In a panic, I wrapped the machete in my magic and started to rip the machete out of his mouth. When I tried to rip away the machete, it ended up spinning in his mouth when he lost his grip. It flipped around and dug into his neck. In their shock, I was able to wiggle one of my hooves free and hit the mare holding me, releasing her grip. The other stallion was holding down my back legs, but without the help of the mare, I was able to free myself and buck him in the face. I picked up the pistol that I dropped on the ground when I was restrained and shot him twice in the chest. The mare behind me recovered from the pain I'd inflicted on her and charged at me. I shot once aimlessly in her direction, and she fell to the ground. Take that, bitch! I yelled, but she couldn't hear me. I'd shot her right in the head, right between the eyes. Lucky shot. I looked at her lifeless body, a little shaken. Having nothing in my stomach to throw up, I started to dry heave. Still heaving, I started to back away from her body and fell to my haunches. I had just killed 3 ponies. How could I have done this? Without ever thinking about it. I took the gun and threw it against the wall under the bridge and started to cry. As I sat there sobbing, I heard a wet choking sound behind me. I quickly grabbed the gun once more. I was ready to use it again, when I noticed it was Splatter, the pony who was ordered to cut my horn off. He was lying on the ground in a pool of blood, coughing and choking. End it, he struggled to utter out. Oh, goddesses, he's still alive, I thought, grudgingly to myself. He wanted me to shoot him and put him out of his misery. I aimed the gun at his head with my magic. I was about to pull the trigger, but I couldn't bring myself to kill another pony again. Not like this. I'm sorry. I can't do it, I said to him as he lay bleeding on the ground from the nasty gash in his neck. You bitch, he choked out. His words angered me somehow, through my self-sorrow. Without even thinking, I threw the gun in front of him and said, Do it yourself, you son of a bitch. After that, I walked away and left him to his fate. I also left the gun with him, which I now realized was a stupid decision since he was going to die anyway, even without shooting himself. Now a part of me wished I'd shot him and kept the gun, but another part of me respected my decision to leave him to his fate, even after I'd left the gun behind. I didn't get too far when I heard a loud bang. I just shook my head and kept going. Stupid son of a bitch, I said to myself. A couple more hours went by. Walking slowly down the destroyed road, my throat was on fire now, either because of the lack of water or because of that bitch mare choking me. A mare I killed, along with those 2 stallions. I know it was to protect myself, but I've never killed any pony. On the first day out of the stable, I ended up killing 3. The memory of Splatter, looking at me with that shock in his eyes, gasping for air and blood pooling around him. I couldn't take it, and I ran to the edge of the road and dry heaved some more. A little bile came up, but nothing else. I got dizzy and ended up sitting down. What am I going to do? I said to myself, as I looked around the dry radiation-baked land. It was so hot out, even with the clouds covering the sun. All I wanted was to be back in my room, have a nice drink of water, and talk to my friends. As I sat there, a gunshot echoed in the distance. I jumped to my hooves and looked around. When I did, I started to hear voices coming from the same direction. "What the hell, Blade? Do you want some pony to hear us?" came a rough stallion's voice. "What? Whoever that pony that killed him is, they can't take all of us," came another stallion's voice. "We don't know how many ponies killed them. Ragebone and Splatter were tough motherfuckers, and Shrapnel may have been stupid, but he still knew how to fight. I don't feel like dying today because you gave away our position." "Sorry, boss, I couldn't help myself," said the second pony, called Blade. The voices sounded like they were getting closer. They said something about those 3 that I'd killed. That was over 2 hours ago. How did they find me? I started to panic, wishing I hadn't left that gun. All I had on me was a damned security baton. "If you don't want those raiders to find you, I suggest you follow me," came a crackly metallic voice from behind me. I almost jumped and started to scream, thinking the worst. I turned and looked up to see some kind of floating robotic bug hovering right over me. "Did you just say that?" I asked in a squeak of a voice. "Did you see any pony else here?" came the voice again. "I'm not going to hurt you, but those raiders down the hill will. I know you're a filly who killed the friends. Are you going to kill me?" My voice came out almost like a whisper. "If they find you, you'll wish they had. Now, are you coming or not?" The robo-bug didn't look dangerous, and I had no idea what I could do to hide from these ponies, so I looked up at it. "If you can help me, then I'll go with you." "Good. Now, stay low and follow me," the metallic voice said as it started to float away. I did as I was told, ducking my head down while following him away from the road. Over the small hill and just out of sight was an odd cottage. The walls didn't offer much protection, with its huge holes and one wall almost completely missing. "How can I be safe in there?" I asked when we came up to the cottage. "There's a small bunker under the bed. It's right inside. Raiders aren't that smart and won't think to look there." I stopped suddenly, saying, "How do I know you're not leading me into a trap?" "You don't. You're just going to have to trust me," said the metallic voice. "Trust a robot. You could be programmed to do anything for all I know." "Listen, I don't have time for all this, and neither do you. I'm not a robot. Well, not really. This is called a sprite bot, and they're all over the Equestrian wasteland. I'm in another location, far, far from here. I can hack into them from time to time and watch what's going on in the wastes. Every now and then, I help ponies like you if I'm able." "So you're watching me from some location far away? That's really creepy," I said, tilting my head. "Yes, and it's not what you think," it said back. "I only have another minute or 2 before I'm kicked out of this thing, so I've got to tell you a couple things so you can survive." I knew that I shouldn't just trust this robot, but he did save me, at least so far. So I did my best to hold down my suspicions, saying, "Okay, fine, but I want you to answer a question or 2 of mine." "I'll try, but let me tell you what you need first," he said, or at least I think it's a he. Hard to tell with the metallic voice. "Fine. Go ahead. Once you're clear of those raiders, you should make your way to the closest settlement you can. Try and find yourself some kind of companion or make friends. The Equestrian wasteland is a hard place to live in, and a filly fresh from the stable like yourself won't make it in this world without friends. Another thing is, never leave a good gun like you did back there behind. They can make the difference between living and dying. Also, they can get you some good caps if you can sell them. Last thing, remember to watch out for things like raiders, slavers, and other monsters that live in the wasteland. And most of all, magical radiation or taint." I had friends when I was in the stable. Only 2, but they were my whole world. I don't think I can make friends like them, I said, wondering what he meant by caps and taint. "You'll have to try. Now quickly, what is it you wanted to know?" I looked up, saying, "I gotta find a town called Cartwheel. There's some pony there I'm supposed to meet with. Also, you saw I was a stable mare. I was wondering, about 8 years ago, did you see another pony leaving stable 28 like myself? And if so, where she might have gone? He bobbed up and down for a moment and finally said, I have no idea where stable 28 is. No pony around here does. I only knew you were a stable because of your barding and the way you acted when those raiders attacked you. As for Cartwheel, I can help you find it. Just remember to stay off the road. Those raiders are always patrolling that road and will find you if you use it. I can do that. Now, where's Cartwheel? I asked. Here, I'll put a marker on your pip, he started to say, though his voice changed with a loud pop and fizzle noise. What was that? Are you okay? I started to say, all of a sudden. A merry little tune floated out of the bot and started to fly away. Hey, where are you going? But no answer. The little bot just flew away playing its merry tune. Shit. Now what do I do? I thought to myself as I lay on the front porch of the broken-down shack. I heard something from up here, boss, came the voices of the raiders again. I think I can see the roof of the building. Maybe he's hiding up there. Fuck, I said, then moved inside the shack. As the robot bug thing said, there was a small trapdoor under one of the beds. I lifted it up and moved down into the hole. When I closed the trapdoor, I saw there was a lock on it. I locked it, then slowly moved down into the dark hole. It wasn't very deep, only a few feet down the ladder. When I got to the bottom, I turned my pip light on and looked around. There was a terminal on a desk in one corner, a bed in the other, and some cans of food and fresh-looking water. I ran right over to the water and drank one, ignoring my pip buck and its clicking slightly. At the moment, I was so thirsty I didn't care if it was irradiated or not. There was a loud noise from above. It sounded like the door of the shack just got kicked in. Voices soon followed. Doesn't look like she's in here, came the voice of Blade. Search it anyway. I want the pony that killed our comrades. Why do you care so much, boss? I heard a hoof hitting flesh. Because unlike you, most of my ponies are tough fighters. I want to know how 3 of them were killed so quickly. They were only a few minutes ahead of us when the shots went off. I don't know how one pony can get away so fast. Sorry, boss, but the pony seemed to have vanished. What if he left the road or something? No pony would leave the road in this area. There are zapwings and other monsters around here. Not many ponies can survive long. What if it's the Steel Rangers? Blade asked, sounding terrified. No. If it was them, we'd know. This was a single pony. He got lucky was all, and somehow got the jump on them. I have a feeling he can't be too far. I'm going to have to rejoin the rest back on the road and continue this towards camp. Blade, I want you to stay here, in case he comes this way. Keep an eye out, got me? And stay off the buck while you do. I can't have you passing out or going nuts while you're here. You hear me? The boss pony said. By myself? Yes! I'll come check on you tomorrow night. I have to make sure things with the slavers go okay tomorrow. I won't get cheated like last time, said the boss. I could hear his hoof steps fading away as he left. After a few minutes went by, I heard Blade mutter, Do this, Blade. Don't trick Jugs, Blade. Why do I always get this shit duty? Great. Now I'm stuck down here with a crazy raider over the only exit. I hoped they would just leave when they saw I wasn't in the shack. But this boss pony seemed to know I could still be in the area. His ponies may not be too bright, but he seemed to be smart himself. I gotta wait him out and hope for the best. I could hear Blade walking around the shack muttering to himself. While I waited, I made my way over to the terminal on the desk. It seemed to still be active, but it was locked. Well, I have nothing else to do. Might as well see if I can crack it. So I went to work. I popped my Pip-Buck's cord into the terminal. That seemed to help bypass the need for a username, but it popped up a few different possible passwords. I tried one, but it failed, saying 0 of the characters matched. I tried again, this time getting 2 of the 5. I tried another, and boom, I was in. That wasn't too bad, I thought to myself as a few messages came up on screen. Curiosity piqued, and I clicked on the first one. Dear Diary, talked to Silverhoof again today when I was in town. He's such a handsome stallion and so dashing in his military uniform. He asked me if I'd be willing to go on a date with him. I'm so excited. I hope Mother and Father will be okay with it. They're afraid of this war, and Father spends all his time in this little bunker thinking it'll be safer if the zebras attack here. He doesn't trust ponies from the Royal Army, but doesn't know Silverhoof like I do. I'll have to talk to Mother first, and I think I can tell her how I feel. She'll understand, I'm sure. Oh gosh, this is so exciting. I can't wait for this date. I'll update more when I can. Pink Rose. Entry 2. Dear Diary, I told Mother about Silverhoof. She seemed happy for me, but she told Father right away. He yelled at me and said I'm forbidden to see him. I yelled at them both, then ran down here and locked the hatch. It's not fair, they can't tell me what to do. I'm almost an adult. I really like Silverhoof, and I want to go on a date with him. You know what? I'm going to go anyway. I don't care what Mother and Father say. Pink Rose. Entry 3. Dear Diary, sorry I haven't written anything in a couple weeks. I went on 2 dates with Silverhoof. Mother and Father had no idea at first. He was such a gentle colt when he took me out. He even told me about some of the things going on in the war. He seemed scared, and I don't blame him. His leave time is done soon, and he'll have to go to the front lines again. We only have a month together before I have to say goodbye. I don't want to say goodbye, though. I think I'm falling in love with him. I wonder if I can go out with him. I'm a tough filly, and in a week I'll be an adult and I can join the military too. I think I'm going to. If I don't, I'll be stuck in this place forever. Pink Rose. Last entry. Dear Diary, this will be my last entry. Silverhoof goes back tomorrow, and I'm going with him. Mother and Father found out about him and I. Father was so angry he screamed at me. Told them I'm growing up now, and they can stop me from doing what I want. They're both so angry at me right now. I don't care, though. I'm going to follow my heart. I love my parents very much, but I have to go. I just hope that one day they'll understand. Goodbye. Pink Rose. I read the entries and felt sadness come over me. I felt kind of bad reading this young mare's diary. She was in love with some pony, so much that she never left her home and parents behind to be with him. It was sad, and touching at the same time. As I finished up, I saw there was an audio file in the terminal too. I downloaded it in my pip-buck, intending to listen to it later. I moved away from the terminal and laid down on the bed. I may be trapped here, or at least now, but I was safe. I woke from my slumber, jumping off the little cot. I looked around, trying to find the sound I just heard. After a moment, I realized it must have been from the bed over the hatch. Sure enough, a few moments later, I could hear soft snoring coming from above me. Now might be a good time to get out of here. Slowly, I moved back to the ladder and started to climb. I opened the hatch and peeked out. I could see a hoof hanging over the side of the bed I was under. The pony over me snoring even louder as the hatch popped open. I crawled out from under the bed, slowly stood, then looked back at the sleeping pony. His body was covered in metal armor, blood coating a good part of it. His mane was a dirty brown, a green coat. He had a cutie mark of a machete dripping with blood on his flank. He also looked a little sick. His eyes were sunken in, and his cheeks too. I almost felt bad for him. Then I remembered he was a raider. If he woke up, he'd kill me the first chance he got. Next to him, there was a long, beat-up gun. Remembering what the metal bug told me, I slowly pulled it up from under his hooves. It wasn't too heavy, and when I checked the mag, it was full. I opened a book that I'd read on guns back in the stable. My pip-buck dinged when I picked it up. I looked and saw it was a hunting rifle. I was about to leave with my prize when my magical grip, when I heard the snoring, stop behind me. I froze and looked back. The pony was waking up, his eyes slowly opening. I wanted to run, but what if he yelled and the others were nearby? A plan hit me, and slowly I set the rifle down on the other side of the door and started to put on a pouty face. It was a trick I'd used when I was younger. My size made it hard for most ponies to judge my age, and therefore ponies didn't put up their guard. Also, the pony they were looking for, they thought, was a stallion. He opened his eyes, bloodshot, more, and focused on me. He jumped to his hooves, but the blip on my EFS stayed white. "Who the hell are you?" "Please, sir, I'm lost and scared," I said in a pouty voice. Well, it was true in a way. "Lost? How does a filly get out here by yourself? Listen, kid, it's dangerous around here." A smile coming to his face as he said this. Not a kind one. "Can you help me get back home?" "How about I show you a new place to call home?" He reached behind himself and tried to grab his rifle. His face, however, went gray as he realized it wasn't there. As he turned around to look back at me, he found the barrel in his muzzle. "Now then, how about you answer a few questions for me?" "Hey now, a little filly like yourself shouldn't be playing with toys like that. Hand it over," he said with a hint of fear in his voice. Using my magic, I took my baton and cracked him in the face with it, knocking him to the floor. "I'm no filly. Now, are you going to answer me or not?" "Damn, you got some balls on you for a mare. Fine. I don't feel like getting my head blown off today," he said, sitting up. "How much further is it to Cartwheel? And how can I get there safely?" I asked, keeping the rifle trained on his head. "That's easy, doll. It's only a couple hours from here along the main road. As for a safe way, sorry, can't help you there. The road's the only way into the town from this side." "And why isn't that a safe way to go?" "My friends control the roll into town. You can try to sneak around them all, but I don't think you can do it," he said, laughing. "Why not?" "We guard everything around our camp. You can't go anywhere near it without running into one of us. But if you don't believe me, just go see for yourself." He laughed again. "Fine. I'll find a way around if I have to. Another question. What did your boss mean about slavers before he left?" His eyes got bigger. "How the hell? Doesn't matter. You'll be dead soon enough. We trade with some of the slavers that come through our area. We got a few ponies for them this time. They'll be back here in a day or two if they haven't arrived already. Matter of fact, they're looking for unicorn mares like yourself." With that, he kicked at me, knocking the gun aside, and dashed out the door. "If I were you, doll, I'd run before we find you." "Shit, I can't let him get away." I pulled up the rifle and activated SATs. Time seemed to slow as the targeting spell activated. Using it, I aimed for his torso and pulled the trigger. The first bullet missed. The next two hit. He dropped like a stone with a loud cry of pain. I ran over to him and looked down at his bloodshot eyes. He just laughed at me, spraying my coat with frothy blood. "You won't make it, you little bitch. Boss will take you as his trophy before handing you over to the slavers." Anger pulsed through me, and I put the barrel of the rifle into his muzzle. "He'll die just like the rest of you." His eyes grew wide as I pulled the trigger. Footnote: Level up. New perk added. Black Widow. Come into any parlor. Stallions suffer +5 damage in combat and are easier to persuade in dialogue.